All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've been welcome to today's live commentary coverage for NASCAR Cup Series action at Bristol Motor Speedway. And for this weekend's event, we have for you the running of the Food City 500. And in this year's running of the Food City 500, we're going to see these next gen cars on the daytime. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've been welcome to today's for just the second time at Bristol Motor Speedway. Last year in the first day race with the next gen car here, a ton of tire fall off. So I'm interested to see if we are going to see something similar to that through practice today and into the race tomorrow. Cooler temperatures this weekend. Again, a little bit warmer tomorrow into the 60s compared to what we see on the racetrack in the early going here with practice just beginning behind the booth, or not just the booth drivers, but the booth itself. Mike Joy, Clint Boyer, and Kevin Harvick. You'll get to listen to them for most of practice, and then I'll take over for the most part in qualifying as we usually do on these practice and qualified live commentary streams. It is on Amazon Prime visually. I'll check in from time to time as well as we'll go through the full leaderboard for practice to see what that will be shaping up like. But everybody is on the race. Temperatures for today. So again, very cool. Track was not taking rubber throughout the entirety of that Truck Series race last night, which was 250 laps and very similar temperatures with around mid 40s in the air temp and the wind chill below 40. So cool again here today at Bristol. Again, it will be a little bit warmer tomorrow, but we'll see if the track, takes rubber. I think that's going to be the big thing to focus on here for practice.
Bit of just the resin. With the PJ1, it lasts a little bit. You allows reason they rest down is to try to get rubber down on the racetrack. We remember last year now we all loved it. The tires didn't last but about 35 laps, and they had to manage their tires. But
it's not quite as temperature sensitive this PJ1 versus a resin, and that's again. You just said it's freezing cold here this weekend. I think that's a big reason why they did put it down.
And the other goal is to make the bottom lane and the top lane more even. So as the race goes on, it gives you something other than just that top lane to have to follow a car. You can dive down to the bottom and make a pass, hopefully with the lanes being more even.
The last part of that conversation that I do love about this traction compound is it eventually wears off. This track is forever changing throughout these 500 lap round. It will be changing for these competitors.
Now, the reason they put the track pipe down is this track has progressive banking. The last time it was resurfaced with concrete, the top groove is banked several degrees more than the bottom groove. So, absent the traction compound, the top of the track would always be the fastest way around. Now, I guess you have choices. Got to make the most of it.
Yeah, it's not much, but it is a little bit more. What is it, 24 to 28 on the top?
All right, I bet it's flat where Regan Smith's standing.
Well, Mike, it's very loud where I'm standing. I can tell you that much right now. Of course, Bristol, one of the loudest tracks we come to. Tyler, fresh off the fourth place finish last week. A lot to think about in this practice session today. The traction compound, top, bottom, where you want your car to work the best. How do you prioritize that when you get out there?
Yeah, and I think, obviously you want to figure out your car's going to be on the bottom of the racetrack. That's where the runs are going to start. We think tomorrow. So it kind of all depends on how much marble buildup's on the racetrack. But, you'll be able to go up there and try it, but I would expect a lot of marbles up there for a bit.
All right, good luck in practice. Lay back to our crew chief. What do you got for us?
Well, Regan, it's Saturday and it's practice, and a lot of gyms are the same. You got 25 minutes, you got one set of Goodyear tires, and if you're running about 15 seconds a lap, if your car is good, you can run 85 laps during this 25 minutes. But I think the biggest thing the guys are talking about is the traction compound at the bottom. Right now, everybody's right around the bottom, but I think they know if you're going to win this race tomorrow, you have to run the bottom. Left from top, it's a question, guys. Who's going to be the first to venture up there and see what kind of content they have on the racetrack?
Let's look at Stenhouse's lap times right there at the top of the board. You see him in 14:98, the first fastest lap. He's all the way down to a 16-second already, second off. Fall off's good.
Kyle Person, second quick. Second in the truck race last night. The NASCAR Chrysler Truck Series. Trying for the triple. He's going to run the Xfinity race and the Cup race. Trying for the weekend sweep, but came up one spot short last night.
Stay on Larson for a second as I'm talking about him. I heard you, and I'm looking at his lap times. Overall, on the long run, really happy with what I see out of this 5 car, Kevin.
Well, it doesn't take long to start making a bunch of laps. And as a driver, I always wanted to make a bunch of laps and get into that rhythm like we talked in the opening. But as you run this first run, you probably remember just being out of breath. It takes you a little bit to get the breathing and everything under control and get into a rhythm to be comfortable with the car. And that's really when you start to make those consistent lap times, which is what you need to do here. Be able to run. You want to run fast, but you need to be able to run consistently in the same spot.
So I saw one driver try the top a couple of laps ago. It was Noah Gregson. He came off turn number 2, and it looked like he stopped. Heard of the drivers that were wrapping the bottom. Larry?
Race in September, the last time we were here, a little over 460 laps. And by lap 25 race, he had moved at the top. I talked to his crew chief, Cliff Daniels, this morning. When they talk this week, they to come here and try to make this 5-car run on the bottom. I know that's very uncharacteristic to Kyle Larson. He said, I know I can run the top. I need to figure out how to run the bottom and run it consistently.
And watching him over the years, I agree with that statement. I mean, nobody gets around here on that outside line better than him. Saw it in the truck race last night. He caught Chandler Smith there at the end. Chandler was holding a pretty wheel out there. He had nothing for him.
Ricky Stenhouse with the fastest individual lap. Second in the best 10 and best 15 consecutive lap rankings to Kyle Larson.
Yeah, like you said, Clint, it's pretty amazing if they fell off that second so quick.
I was watching him go through the corner right there. You see a lot of wheel in the car as they're going through that traction compound. And another thing that I've noticed is you can kind of see how it spreads out. Starts on the bottom. You see that bottom in the left side tire that's blacker down there than it is on the outside where the right side tires go. But as starting to move up there, and the right side tires are finding that grip as well. Speeds are grip is high, confidence is high.
Yeah, and I like to run, especially in the traction compound down there. I always like to put the left side tire on that yellow line, especially from the 3/4 mark of the corner, 5/8 mark of the corner to the exit. It feels like you tow that car around the corner when you hit it right. So bottom, you got to drive in a little bit easier. Get that left front tire, put on that yellow line, go back and rush as much partial throttle through the center of the corner. And as soon as you feel that car rotate, you'll be able to put that car down. You want to unwind the wheel off the bottom so that it doesn't have that snap loop.
And if you miss that, it's like you miss the track. And that thing is tight and plowing all the way through the corner. And you're like, man, I want to redo it.
One thing that is not tight is the slipping pylon. It's half a second from top to near the bottom. That's a pretty big spread for here.
Yeah, it really is. Especially, I tell you what, for NASCAR in general, the lap times that we've seen in spread qualifying practice, doesn't matter if it's a 1.5 mile short track at Martinsville, they have been really, really tight. So good point there, Mike. I think it's a big part of this traction compound and weight cars are handling, but versus missing that bottom. If you hook it, it might get loose. I think it kind of throws these teams for a loop. It's something different that their simulation can't simulate.
Kyle Larson ran 30 laps and pulled in as watch right here. He's starting with 12th on the board.
Now, I'm a big fan, when that window of opportunity, there's not a rule change this year. Window of opportunity for all these teams narrows up. The simulation is perfected, and it just keeps honing in tighter and tighter and tighter. That's why you see these lap times as tight as they There's something different at them, like this traction compound here at Bristol. Again, that simulation program doesn't know how much grip is in this racetrack, and it changes.
Look at his wheel right there, Clint. I've never seen somebody, we've got these kind of oblong, oval-shaped wheels now.
I can put in a wreck already.
It's upside down. That's upside down from how you would typically run it. So, right, Preece,
Depends on how much kind of belly you got.
No, I mean, it's still flatter on the top and the bottom. But
I didn't like the flat wheel. I felt like the finger got grabbed that car.
You run that flatter wheel on the top, you kind of you thin down and make the grip there so that you can see the dash. And a lot of times, you got to be able to see the dash. The way that I ran my car, you wanted to be able to see the dash, and so it didn't get in the middle of your pit road speed or something that on the scene.
Now, Max Pappas, his company makes a lot of these steering wheels for a lot of the drivers. I talked to him last Saturday. He says he has 97 different styles, racing wheels to accommodate everybody.
Max was a genius. Yep. He found that loophole in racing, and boy, did he take advantage of it. Every single car, what was it, Schroeder? It had the same steering wheel forever. Every car that I was ever in kept my whole life. And it was heavy. It was huge, awkward, didn't look good, wasn't sexy. He changed the game. Nothing about that.
Richard Petty had a wheel with 3 spokes, but the spokes were equal distance apart. Yeah, so when the car spun out at Daytona, when he and David Pearson crashed in '76, Max was telling this story last Saturday. Richard didn't know which way the wheel was turned because all the spokes were equally separated. So it was Richard that had been put a little stripe at the top of the wheel when the wheel was straight. He started that, talked to Max about it, and Max, there's an orange stripe on every one of Max's wheels, right dead center.
Let's just face it, pretty much everything started repeating.
There you go.
Yeah, it seems like the Petty group or the Wood brothers created most of the things that we do that are really good.
Well, everybody copied the people that were winning the most.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time on that wheel, and then you'll actually have different grips. So a lot of guys squeeze the good parts, and they'll want softer grip. And Jeff Gordon used to have the steering wheel molded to his hand. So there's a lot of different grips, and this is a bigger wheel, especially compared to Ryan Preece's.
So this is a Max Pappas wheel. Recognize the sticker there on the spoke and the orange stripe at the top. Way to go, Max. He has now expanded. He's building racing seats. He's building hubs to mount these steering wheels on the shaft with a conical fitment so that it can't not be attached. He's just innovating. He's doing great things.
And the other thing, the wheel is designed as a crash device as well. So that the wheel is, if you hit something head on or sideways, it's designed to actually hold up and move with a high impact. Because as a driver, you brace yourself with that wheel. So definitely need it. See all those stripes on Brad's wheel there.
Look how much smaller it is.
Yeah, his is a lot smaller, but you'll see the white and the blue tape right there. That's so he knows where to hold his wheel on a pit stop to keep those wheels and tires straight for the tire changer and the carrier to be able to get the wheels in and out of the fenders. But he's loose. He's also really loose right now. Look at that wheel hard. Sure is.
Back and forth, back and forth.
All right, now here's some radio traffic from Ricky Stenhouse, who has the fastest lap today.
They're out. I get that out.
That's at only 25 laps.
And that's a very typical thing that happens here. Try to rush the throttle when that traction compound has a lot of grip. It lets the back drive, and it has good grip, but you're just grinding away at that right front tire.
You can tie it off.
Hey guys, just to add to that also, they followed that up on the radio when they sent him back out and told Ricky, we have less than 20 laps left on these tires that you can run. Don't run any more than you have to on this current run. Of course, they made an adjustment for the handling things that we were talking about.
11 minutes to go. 30 laps is the most, 34 laps is the most anybody's done this morning. Like McDowell, 11th on the board, 15:25. Currently lapping at about 16:40. Jesse Long getting a start here in the Cup Series. Andy Street will be crew chief for the weekend. Rippon will be his spar. First timer.
Yeah, the first time in this car it's a huge undertaking you can do all the simulator work and things that you want, but until you feel this car on the racetrack and understand just how edgy and how much different it rides than the Xfinity cars you see right there. Jesse get loose into the corner. It'll be a common characteristic in the corners here at Bristol as that right rear tire and the track starts to lose grip.
He's a double dipper. He's going to start 13th in the Xfinity race today.
Very easy to get out of shape here, Bristol Motor Speedway. I've seen quite a few drivers in this opening group of practice to slip up the racetrack from the bottom. Obviously, nobody's tried to widen out the groove at all for the most part. Noah Gregson for a couple laps is up there, but wasn't making up any time. And obviously, with only one car, it's not going to get rubbered in either, let alone the fact with the cooler track temps and the concrete corners. probably not going to see that throughout the course of today's race, and probably today's race as far as the Xfinity Series, and obviously this practice session as well. Currently, our leaderboard for practice, we're still in the middle of Group 1. Group 2 has not hit the racetrack. We have less than 10 minutes to go of the initial 25 for this first group. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has the fastest lap of a 14.981 and an average speed of 128.082 miles per hour, on that. Stenhouse has ran 32 laps in this session. Kyle Larson ran 30 laps in the session, his second quickest with a 15.14. Brad Keselowski is third, John Hunter Nemechek fourth, Alex Bowman rounds out the top 5. Sixth is Noah Gregson, Justin Haley 7th, Chase Briscoe 8th, Austin Dillon 9th, Cole Custer 10th, Michael McDowell in 11th, Riley Herbst 12th, Carson Hocevar 13th, Corey LaJoie 14th, Shane Van Gisbergen 15th, Jesse Love 16th, Ryan Preece 17th, Josh Berry 18th, Cody Ware 19th, and Josh Balicki 20th. 39 cars in the field, 20 cars in Group 1. Group 2 will have 19. And as we take a look at the lap averages for this group specifically, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has the fastest 5-lap average of the 20 cars on track currently. Kyle Larson has the fastest 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30 lap averages. So Larson looking very good on the long runs so far. Only 2 drivers, though, have made a 30-plus lap run, that being Larson and his teammate Bowman. Everybody else came in to make adjustments at some point before the end of those 30 laps, and only a handful of them really went more than 15 laps at a time. Let's see here, 1, 2, 3. Only 8 drivers of the 20 on track made a lap run of 15-plus laps consecutively to pop up on our 15-lap average sheet. But the 2 quickest are the Hendrick Motorsport Chevys in that department on the long run of Larson and Alex Bowman. And both in the top 5 overall, so short run speed is looking pretty good also. With 7 minutes, 20 seconds counting down on our practice clock for Group 1. I'll throw it back to Mike Joy, Clint Boyer, and Kevin Harvick for the time being.
He's 18th out of 20. But the laps he's turning right now are only 6 to 7 tenths off of that lap. So he's on pace with most of the cars that are on track right now.
And I spoke to Josh a little bit about that. And he's like, hey, a lot of times I just like to feel the car out and understand what I'm doing. And it's really not representation of how much speed the car has in it. As we've seen on a week-to-week basis from qualifying, he does a great job of making sure the car's underneath him, not taking any chances, and being able to turn a big lap in qualifying based upon how his car ends up in practice.
And looking at this, his luck's got to change. He's been in a bad spot a couple of times.
You keep knocking on that door.
Yeah.
Let's fix itself.
He's a lot like Ryan Blaney. I feel like they've had a lot of really good speed in their car. They've had some unfortunate situations, but I would consider, I know the Wood brothers are their own team, but out of that Penske bunch, I would consider him having been the best, second best car compared to Blaney out here.
I think until that turns around, I'm going to stay away from anything that has a number 1 and a 2 in it.
There you go.
Let me sell Alex Bowman at you one time. He's pretty fast. Look over here. Best consecutive 20, number 2. Best consecutive 30 for him. Really close.
Here's his radio.
You're going to enter the right rear to come in. I thought that turn better. Just started, he get there. Yeah, for a time. Thank you. Anything one, I'm answering you with it, but not a ton. A bunch of it start, but I think it's just horrible on the right rear.
Now, he ran 40 laps, and that's as much as anybody.
And that's what they're talking about. Borrowed time. Heard that with Stenhouse as well. These guys are nervous about wearing these tires out, blowing, getting yourself in trouble. So
Already.
that will get better as we progress through this weekend, Kevin.
Well, we kept saying that last year too. Better, and that's the one thing that these cold temperatures bring up.
So, Larry, as we look at tire wear, what are we going to have for the race?
Yeah, Mike, I think we're going to have 10 sets, 9 sets of stickers and the sets you can qualify on. And I do believe the tire wear will get better. We got a 300 lap Xfinity Series race. I know that I can reach traction down to the bottom group in the morning. But guys, we're monitoring a lot of teams down here, and I will say they are using description of no rear grip. I'm hearing all the way to the corner. There's not a lot of heavy trippers right now to handle their race.
And that is really what happens when this car wears out. And I think that they probably thought that the racetrack was going to be better. But we've talked about this a lot of places that we've been to this year, when the right rear tire wears out or the left rear, when they all wear out, the car just shuts off and you have no other thing to do other than slow down.
And this one right here, we're riding along with Keselowski. He's probably the worstest one I've seen out there. We were following him earlier, and it was ugly.
They've got an interesting scheme on this car. I know you see, Oscar. It's not hot dogs. It's a BLT.
Oh.
Bacon, lettuce, and tomato on that car this week.
Yes.
Intense, yeah. We saw that in your steering wheel too there, Brad. It looked intense.
If his lens was clear, you'd see his eyeballs too.
Bacon.
I keep, as a kid, I just hear that Oscar Mayer song in my head. Do you remember?
My old man and I
Singing for me.
Oscar Mayer Wienermobile one time.
You did?
That's the only that's all I could think. I've never seen a BLT Sanders drive down the highway. Nope. Yet. But there's a tire wear. But them tires look pretty wore out. Lap times are pretty sporty. Those are new.
So only 3 drivers made runs of 30 consecutive laps or more. Larson, Bowman, and Van Gisbergen.
I watched this. Watch this. He gets off in the corner.
And you can actually hear the rear. Did you hear the rear? Yeah.
Not a good feeling at this place.
And it's not. And I'm telling you guys, this is a lot like last year in the things that happened with the way that the tire wear and everything was in practice. And we kept thinking that it was going to get better. But when I look at the racetrack, I mean, we've had Xfinity practice, we've had a truck race, we've had a lot of things happen on this.
It's just
racetrack
too cold.
already.
Well, it's funny you say that. There's only one car on the racetrack. There's still 2.5 minutes of practice left. These guys have had enough. We're going to go back here and think about it.
Similar temperatures this weekend to last year's spring race with the tire issues. But we had 54 lead changes last spring, track record. Then in the fall race, only 5 caution flags, tied for the fewest.
Same tire. And when you talk about the temperature is the big thing. It's very cold right now. And last year, at the end of the year, the temperature was way up, and that allows the rubber to lay down on the racetrack. And right now,
did you see the difference in the surface of both racetracks? Tons of rubber on the outside of that first one in the spring. Looked pretty clean in the fall, to your point.
Off the racetrack, and you can still kind of see the rubber on the exits of the corners where they would run the high grooves. You can still see their streaks, and really all the Cup cars have done is pick it up.
You know, I think this is the first weekend I can recall where the teams are saying, all right, we have too much practice time. We've done all we can. We've done all we can with what we've got.
Yeah, when you wear the tires like that, as you see most of our cars just sliding all over the place.
You see his wheel locked in the center of the corner. Looks pretty tight, and all of a sudden snaps loose on the exit.
All the young drivers at home, don't run with your shield up.
Well, his problem is they put too dark a shield on the spot cover. They can't see. Pop in there.
2 bolts, Clint.
Yep.
Fix that quick.
Allen head wrench, clear shield.
I would say that it was right or wrong. I just said, why? He's got up. He can't see.
That was frustrating. You'd be like, it'll be all right. And then you get out on the racetrack and you can't see the little details of the racetrack because your shield's too dark. Or
my eyes were really sensitive, so I could never wear a dark shield. That's how I knew immediately. If I ever see a mirrored lens, look at this. That's exactly what we were wanting to see. That is too much tire wear, fellas.
Riley Herbst.
Yeah, you see him smiling right now, but I promise you about lap 40 of the race when that tire looks like that, and they say, we need 10 more.
That's why
he's going to be mad
off the racetrack before practice is up.
All right, time will expire here with an interesting racetrack for Group 1.
All right, Group 1 practice in the books. Group 2 is about to begin. As we get into Group number 2 of practice, it'll be the final 19 drivers, obviously, that haven't hit the track yet. Once more, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. posted the fastest lap time, and that will probably be tough to beat, considering that it was a fresh racetrack for these teams. I'll pump the brakes there, because maybe we will see a faster time in Group 2. There's a lot of fast cars coming up yet. Kyle Larson, Brad Keselowski, also just behind Stenhouse on the leaderboard in second and third. John Hunter Nemechek in fourth. Alex Bowman fifth. So again, that was the top five all from that group. Keselowski only ran 11 laps, least amount of any driver. Actually, hold on a second. He ran more than that. I got to refresh the page. Just noticed I was 10 minutes behind. 18 laps still. That's not a lot. 18 laps is all Keselowski ran in practice. Corey LaJoie also ran 18. That was the least amount of any drivers from Group 1. Most amount, Alex Bowman ran for 40. Cole Custer, 47. Herbst ran 40. We saw the cording on the right front tire from Riley Herbst. Or at least I saw it. You guys couldn't visually see it, but major cording on the right front from Riley Herbst. And that was after 40 laps. I'm sure he was pushing 100% and wasn't saving his tires throughout the course of the run. No need to do that in practice when you only have one set, minimal amount of time to try to gauge exactly how the car feels. But very similar to last season's spring race where the track just wasn't taking in any rubber. Even colder today than what we saw all of last weekend, or last year on this very weekend. It was around 60 degrees, mid-60s, which is supposed to be what the temperature high will be tomorrow afternoon. Have the CW, get to watch it. If you're talking about the Xfinity race, yep. It will be on the CW later. Our like goal is 50 for this practice and qualifying stream per usual. We're at 22 likes currently. Thanks for everybody tuning in here on this early Saturday afternoon. First of two streams today. That Xfinity race I was just talking about will start at 5 p.m. Eastern a little later on. Just waiting for them to come back from the commercial break to get Group 2 of practice in. So while we await on that, we'll take our first break of the stream. You're listening live on KRC to the Good City 500 first and only practice session for the NASCAR Cup Series.
Welcome back to NASCAR on Prime. Practice qualifying for Sunday's Food City 500 at Bristol Motor Speedway. It's Chad Knaus, VP of competition for Hendrick Motorsports. Two of their four cars have been on track already. Brad Keselowski, managing partner, I should say, of RFK Racing. Taking a look at tires. Brad was third fastest in Group 1 behind Ricky Stenhouse and Kyle Larson's Chevys, and ahead of John Hunter Nemechek and Alex Bowman. Regan?
Well, Mike, let's talk to the guy that was fastest in that practice session, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 32 laps for you. But I think the thing I'm most curious about, your crew chief told you don't run more than 20 laps that second time you went back out there. Tires were looking like the tongue was hanging out of them a little bit.
Yeah, we probably went a little fast early. Car felt really good. The boys brought me a really good Sunny D Camaro here. So my favorite racetrack we come to, and I'm always smiling walking in the tunnel here. So felt really good in practice. It's been a while since I felt like we've felt good in practice. We've had good race cars here in the race and managed our races okay, but that was the first time in a while that I feel like our car's been good in practice. So yeah, I had some cording there. It'll be interesting to see kind of how this second practice session goes. I felt like there was a decent amount of rubber from the Xfinity cars and not a lot of marbles. And then, like, as we ran, I felt like maybe we picked the Xfinity rubber up and we threw down a lot of marbles and started wearing out tires there. So we'll see if it gets better or worse this next practice session. And obviously a little warmer tomorrow and a little sunnier. So we'll see how it goes. But Sunny D Ford. Sunny D Camaro's fast. I said that for a long time. But yes, so far so good.
All right, thanks, Ricky. Larry.
Yeah, Regan, I'm here with Brad Keselowski. He's talking with his crew chief, Jeremy Bell. He's Brad, third quickest, but you only ran 19 laps. What do you think we got here?
Larry, you tell me. I don't know. You know, we came here and tested a year and a half ago, and the tires wouldn't go 25, 30 laps. So we thought we were really smart, and we came back to the next spring race, and we're prepared for that, and that's what it did. And then, you know, after last year's spring race where the tires wore out, we came here with the 17 car and tested, and the same thing happened. And we came back thinking, okay, be ready for tire wear in the summer race. The tires could have ran 200 laps, 300 laps. So we have no idea. We really don't. You know, I joke with people. One of the things that makes motorsport so much different than other sports is that it's like a weekly science experiment, and one small variable can change everything. And the tires, that's not a small big variable. That's a big variable, and we're seeing that in action.
Well, guys, it's days like this. I'm glad I've decided to talk about it. I don't have to figure it out no more.
Thanks, Larry. It's been a tough week here in NASCAR. You know, everybody in the garage knew John Edwards. And unsurprisingly, John knew and cared for everybody. For more than 30 years, he was a staple of the NASCAR family, working with Jeff Gordon since Jeff's second season in the Cup Series. John was right there, always, standing tall next to Jeff for every race, every iconic moment of Jeff's career. But it's John's friendship that we will remember most. His smile, his compassion, the way he called most everybody by their last name. John was not just part of the NASCAR family, part of the Fox family as well for 6 years. He helped make possible some memorable moments that we had on air. He then returned to Hendrick Motorsports to work with Kyle Larson and help lead all of Team Hendrick's publicity endeavors in the Cup Series. John's impact on the sport, the drivers, and all of us will live on forever. John was 53. Cheers, Edwards.
$6 never tasted so good. IHOP's Breakfast Faves combo is now just $6. Featuring IHOP's world-famous buttermilk pancakes, crispy hick.
Still waiting for Group 2 cars to hit the racetrack in practice. Group 1 obviously already concluded a little while ago. Shoutouts to those of you that have been watching the stream so far. We got Joey Logano fan, Frank Powers, Kyle Ann, Space Cowgirl, Tim Brown, and others in the chat. Wanted to make sure I gave you guys your usual shoutouts. Try to whenever I see you in the chat. Haven't done that yet throughout the course of the stream. Sorry for being maybe a half hour delayed. Again, halfway through practice, and then we'll have single car qualifying immediately following practice. 2 laps this week with it being a half-mile short track, just like we had for Martinsville a few weeks ago. This will be the last NASCAR Cup Series race we'll see for a couple weeks as well, as NASCAR is off next weekend on Easter Sunday. The Xfinity and Truck Series will be at Rockingham, but the Cup Series will have their only off week during the course of this 36 race season. And then they'll be back at Talladega the following week for that event. And I'll actually be there for the Cup race, but the plan is to do live commentary that weekend for the Xfinity Series, more than likely for the Xfinity Series, and then ARCA for sure. Cup qualifying for sure. We will have live commentary there also the week of Talladega. And I'll obviously keep you guys updated the rest of this weekend. Next weekend as well, as we'll have full Rockingham coverage for you on the channel, but I will be at Talladega, so as far as the Cup Series race on Sunday goes, there won't be live commentary that Sunday, so it's going to be the last Cup Series live commentary stream we're actually going to have for quite some time, because then I'll be at Texas the week after that. All on the same vacation, hitting the Talladega Superspeedway race, going to Texas the Monday after, and then hitting Texas Motor Speedway that next weekend before coming back home. We will have live commentary, though, for the Xfinity action both weeks. Truck for Texas. They'll be off at Talladega. And then Cup practice and qualifying will be streamed right here on the channel also. But the Cup Series races at Talladega and Texas, those will not be streamed, and we'll have race highlight videos from the grandstands uploaded for that. Zachary Powers, Patrick Shadley, welcome into the stream as well. 23 likes and counting. 25 now, 25 and counting. Halfway to our goal of 50 already. Be sure to hit the subscribe button as well if you have not yet. Group 2 practice underway, 30 seconds in as they come back from commercial on Amazon Prime Video. And on our leaderboard, you're going to be able to see the top lap times intertwine with the Group 1 drivers. With those on track now here in Group 2.
Danny Parsons used to call it Big Mo. Momentum. There's the driver right there that has.
Nothing better. There is nothing better than the momentum in this sport. So,
And it'll work again this weekend.
it will. And we saw this race as to what right now we've got some sun on the racetrack, so we'll see if that helps any of the rubber go down. But Denny Hamlin last year in this race, when it was a high wear type situation again, he was the guy.
Final pit stop for Denny Hamlin made the difference. His crew got him out first. He was able to hold off all comers.
Got a great restart there at the end, and second, third, and fourth got to racing each other, and he was able to just drive off into the sunset. And that's what the great teams do. You know, he was able to get down pit road, get in his pit box. They had a great pit stop, get out of his pit box, and they were able to capitalize on that.
Those twins, after their 600th career start, Richard Petty had 51, Kevin 24, but Jeff Gordon only 11, and Denny Hamlin now 8.
That was a late bloomer, apparently.
Heck yes. Chase Elliott, fifth quickest in the early going here. Looks like laps 2 through 6 kind of in the sweet spot for fastest lap here. And in this group, everybody on their fourth lap ran their quickest.
No surprise here. Chase Elliott, I would be probably smiling too before I even got in this race car. I watched my two teammates, Bowman and Larson, both at the top of the board in that last session. So didn't surprise me that he pulled out in this racetrack and found speed right away.
All right, Larry Mack, what's going on?
Yeah, Mike, this is the book off the 60 car on Ryan Preece. And what we're seeing is if your car is sliding the front tire, you're wearing the right front out. If you're loose, if the back end's hung out, then the right rear tire is wore out. Now, if you go back to this race a year ago, if you remember in the last lap, we didn't have a lot of tires that came apart. What happened? The drivers adjusted their approach and their style of driving, and then teams made adjustments to the race car. And I think that's what you're going to see a lot of after this practice session. They're going to start adjusting on these race cars to try to help this riding.
Well, man, it's all coming back to the guys. Watching these guys as they try to figure that out and try to pull the reins back on that old pony. You got to slow that thing down. It's in there. You can take it. It's there for the taking. But if you do it early, you're going to pay the price later.
Joey Logano had a big week. He and Roger Penske, along with the previous year's champ, Ryan Blaney, and their IndyCar team and their Daytona 24-hour winning team all went to the White House this week for a celebration with President Trump. There are some of the pictures. You probably saw a lot of video on every news channel of some of the attendees. In football, Wolf got a lot of screen time. So did the two Steves from NASCAR.
Pretty much part of the press conference.
Well, yeah, as the president was talking about delaying tariffs, auto racing got a whole lot of maybe unexpected exposure from that White House visit.
Yeah,
I
can't imagine standing there while they were doing that press conference. But Paul Wolf, he looked like he was head of security.
I would have loved to have been with them for one reason alone. I remember when I met Trump at Daytona, the respect that he gave that man standing next to him, and that's the captain, Roger Penske. I guarantee you there was questions that he asked that guy that day, and I always vividly remember that, the respect that he gave Roger Penske. That man knows business.
Absolutely.
Oh, he knows how to win, too. And he pretty much had all of his guys up there for all the winter celebrations.
Did you know that on at least one occasion, Roger was approached by the Republican Party to run for higher office?
Wow.
I've always said, since I've met him, I said, that guy, he could lead this country.
And his response, and probably not his exact words, were basically, and answer to Congress? I don't think so.
He's too busy.
Right.
Ryan Blaney in the pits already.
Well,
He
knowing,
ran just 12 laps.
yeah, knowing what you know about the tires, if you're going to make an adjustment on your car, you better make it quick because this looks like it's going to become a tire conservation battle if the racetrack continues like that. So
I don't know which direction to go though, Kevin. You know what I mean here? I mean, the track is obviously the tire wear is high. The grip level and the traction compound is probably wearing out. You're kind of chasing the track a little bit, so you'd have to be careful to maybe get out of the box too far on your setup.
yeah, well, I think in these scenarios, you want to just plan for tire conservation, and the best way to do that is just to have a plan and slow down as you get to the beginning of this run and just try to make your tires go as long as they can. That's what we saw last year.
These tires, good run here last spring.
Yeah. I'm watching over your shoulder, Mike. I just saw Suarez tank swap. These cars are all over the place.
Yeah.
It's like if they miss that traction compound at least a little bit, getting into 3, you better hold on.
Well,
You see how slow he is right there in the 2-car approach to him? That thing is really nervous getting into the corners.
9 sets of new tires, plus your qualifying scuffs. That means you need to get 50 laps out of each set, and we are assuming excessive wear at 40.
That's not enough, Mike.
That doesn't add up, Clint.
Oh, Clint, I can figure that one out. We're going to need to back off a little bit, Kev.
Wasn't just Suarez. Ross Chastain, his teammate, just had a big slide up the hill down at turn 1. One of those track house corners. Optimal right now.
And you heard Brad Keselowski talk about that earlier in his interview. See Ralph shaking his car around like he's been up the racetrack, but all over the place there with the one of Chastain. But we heard Brad talk about this earlier, and it's a little bit confusing for the teams. They prepare for what they had in the fall. Couldn't wear the tires out. You come back and as you see, 23 car all over the back bumper of Chastain.
He's in the way. He has a handful. And Suarez has a big moment right here in front of Austin Cindric.
Yeah, and he's just got no grip, and the one car looks the exact same way. Those cars look to be some of the soonest cars to wear the tires out and not be in the racetrack. But back to Brad and his comments, what do you do? I think right now, if it were me, I would prepare for a high tire wear, conservation, whatever I have to do to just take care of the tires.
Tell me what that means.
Well, that means
what do you want?
and that
Well,
means,
that's the given, but how about a balance for your car?
I want my car just to be balanced, and I want it to be balanced to get the most tire wear out of all 4 tires. I want to use all 4 tires so I don't have to grind on the right front tire, so I don't have to slide it with the right rear. And I want as much balance in the race car as possible. So if I'm loose, I want to get it back to be tight, as you see Ty Dillon off the pace there.
What you're saying is if it's loose, it's not going to get better. It's just going to get worse. If it's tight, it's going to get worse. Find a happy middle ground on the balance.
That's right. Find a middle ground, because Larry said earlier, as we're on board with Kyle Busch here, Larry said it exactly right earlier. If your car's loose, it's going to wear the right rear tire out. Personally, I'd rather wear the right front tire out, but we all know the risk of blowing the right front tire going into the corner. But
I will say this too: you can also drive your car differently, right? If your car's loose getting into the corner, you're going to have to be a little more straighten your line up a little bit getting in. Don't be leaning on that right rear. In other words, don't turn the wheel really hard and get it over on the right rear. Vice versa. If it's tight in the middle, that's where it's problematic, in my opinion. I have to go in and make an adjustment. When it's tight in the middle and your wheel lock, that doesn't get better. There's not really anything you can do to fix that. Dime in the corner, nothing works.
Remember the story we told last week about the guy that won the first 7,500? He qualified last, Johnny Manson of Plymouth, but he didn't wear out his tires. Everybody else was popping tires, had to change them, and he just ran his way around, ran his race, ran his pace, and won. Now, the sport is way different than it was in 1950, but, that doesn't sound like a bad strategy for tomorrow or Sunday, knowing what we know right now.
Well, when I first started, Kevin was in the sport. There was a lot of horsepower. Essentially, you're kind of doing the same thing, right? Back then, we wore the tires out with horsepower because the tires would literally spin. You would spin it with the throttle, so you had to take care of the car with the throttle. Here, not really so much as with the tire difference, but it is with the wheel inputs. You have to take care of it, find a happy medium with the wheels.
Well, you want the car to go with that's the new game. It's not how fast does it go. It's who can make their car go the longest to be able to make the tires last the longest. And that's what we saw in the spring last year was the cars that could make their tires last the longest and without having the cords showing through the tires. Because when those cords get on the tires, it's like driving on ice.
But when it warms up 15 degrees tomorrow, whole conversation could be
different.
The window.
But I like this. This makes this a thinking man's race, not just hold it wide open and drive it as fast as you can.
10 degrees, I'm seeing. It's 10 degrees warmer tomorrow. But I think it's going to play a big role.
Yeah.
That is not what you want. And by the way, I don't mind if back in the day, our old tires would get to that point and they would blow out.
Yeah.
These things just come delaminated, they run out of tire, and the bolts stay with them.
Well, there's plenty of room, but
That's where it is.
yeah, it's in the sweeper.
Yeah, it's like a cheese grater, just grinding the rubber off. And a lot of that, and this is because of the ambient temperature outside and the surface being cold.
Well, look how clean it is.
Yes.
Look how clean that track is. You called it earlier in the first session there. Look, that shouldn't be that clean. It shouldn't be that white and then all the marbles up top.
But isn't this in part what drivers asked for? Give us a tire that wears.
I've always asked for it.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's
You can make a difference as a driver.
that's what you want from a driver's standpoint. You want it to be like you said earlier. You don't want it to be hammered down every lap. You want to be able to make a difference in the driver's seat. When you can't make a difference, that's when it's frustrating.
So tomorrow, as Clint says, 10 to 15 degrees warmer, and the forecast tomorrow is just about identical to the weather conditions we had for last spring's race here.
And so interesting, the Xfinity cars before this practice put rubber down in both grooves. We saw those cars leaving a bunch of rubber, so it's definitely a cut car situation with the temperature and the way that the tire is acting.
Ryan Blaney fastest in this group. His teammate Austin Cindric second. Then Chase Elliott Chevy. Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch.
The problem I see with this is the traction compound's down on the bottom, right? The bubbles on the outside. It's going to have a tall order to get that outside cleaned up. Well, the element with this is there's a lot of cars in trouble. They are really loose and in the way. That kind of reminds me, very reminiscent. This is one. Ty Dillon is struggling with his car, very loose. See, look at that. Look how loose he is getting in the corner. If there's a car behind him bearing down on him, he's going to get in the back of him and spin him out. That is very reminiscent of the way this track used to be. You hold him up too long, you won't hold him up much longer.
Back there in the left rear.
What's broken? There's no tread on the tire. That's what's broken.
And things happen here so fast. I mean, last night in the truck race, we had a couple moving chicanes out there for the first 25 laps and almost a couple of really big pileups. Larry Mack.
Yeah, you see Ty Gibbs in that 54 car. Right now, he's 19 quickest. He ran 39 laps. He told them right after he completed lap 38, I'm coming in, look at the right front, something doesn't feel right. He was spot on. The right front is wore out. They are done with this 54 car as far as practice.
It's like a light switch. When the tread goes off the tire and that tire is done, it happens instantly, and you feel it from a driver's standpoint. You know when that tire is done, and that's that switch that you got to know to be able to tell your team to be able to pit or do what you need to do.
Well, if these tires are done at 40 laps, there's going to be a bunch of cars riding around on the rim before this race is over.
You better load that.
Call cautions.
Yeah, better load that Goodyear truck up. Go get some more tires.
Look how much rubber is in the front of that race car.
Now, last year, Goodyear released an extra set of tires after stage 2. Same tire, same allocation that they had brought in the event of such an issue. Not sure what's going to happen here this weekend.
Well, judging off what we've seen, I'd say that is in effect. Tires definitely in the playbook for sure, but I don't mind this. I think everybody's going to be ready for it after last year. Right? That was the first time any of us had ever seen it. I mean, it unfolded right here on Fox. Y'all got to see it, but I think it'll still be alive. I hope that it is. I thought, from my perspective, that was an interesting race, and it put it back in the driver's hands. Those old KG veterans and experienced drivers are the ones that went right to the front.
Now, what about what Artie just showed us? Some of that rubber debris gets up on the top of the racetrack, but some of it goes right in the grill openings of these race cars.
Well, a lot of times there's some mesh in front of the radiator, and that stuff will all fall down into the pan of the radiator. And a lot of times when you stop, it'll actually shoot out the front of the grill.
Yeah, we see it on pit stop.
Yeah.
The brakes and all of it blows out the front of it. Tires, man. Tire wear. Loving it.
9.5 minutes to go here.
You see a lot of the pit signs are actually designed to block that grill screen, and when that rubber does fly out, you'll notice that they try to block that grill screen to keep the debris going in front of the car to keep the tire changers from slipping.
All right, Larry. Courage.
9 minutes to go in Group 2 practice. Ryan Blaney, the quickest of which in this group of the 19 drivers. Austin Cindric, second quickest. Chase Elliott, third. Denny Hamlin, fourth. Kyle Busch, fifth. All in the top 8 overall in this practice session between both groups combined. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. still holds the fastest lap and is atop of the leaderboard, and will continue that lap time with the amount of tire fallout that we are seeing with these cold temperatures and the track not taking in any rubber, just like we had last spring with the NASCAR Cup Series race. So, again, it's going to be an interesting watch tomorrow afternoon. We'll be live for that at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. And Xfinity race, obviously, later on today at 5 p.m. Eastern as well. Qualifying is on this stream immediately following this next 25-minute group of practice. And they are under 8 minutes to go now, so we are getting pretty close to the end of this practice session entirely. We'll have a slight shakedown period, probably 10 minutes in between this practice session and then qualifying beginning. And each of the drivers will get 2 laps, 1 round continuously to see who will sit the pole for this weekend's race. And I think Ryan Blaney is going to be a big favorite for that pole because he qualified on the pole last season in this very race. And he definitely fired off with good short run speed, being the fastest in this group and second fastest overall as well. Takes a lot of commitment in qualifying. It's going to be fun to watch qualifying. This was one of the more fun qualifying sessions last season with how low grip the racetrack is with zero rubber out there. And there's going to be a big difference in lap time between the drivers who are going to be at the very fastest and very top of that leaderboard, and some of them even really in the middle of the pack compared to what we'd see most weekends. We've already seen that in practice, but qualifying, it's going to be an even bigger spike when drivers are trying to push for their absolute hardest for 2 full laps. And the likelihood of running a faster lap on lap 2 than lap 1 isn't as high as well with as much tire wear as we are seeing. We'll go through the full field leaderboard. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is number 1 in practice overall. Ryan Blaney second, and again fastest in Group 2. Then you have Austin Cindric third. Kyle Larson fourth. Chase Elliott fifth. Brad Keselowski 6th, Denny Hamlin 7th, Kyle Busch 8th, John Hunter Nemechek 9th, Alex Bowman rounds out the top 10. Then Noah Gregson in 11th, Justin Haley 12th, Chase Briscoe 13th, Austin Dillon 14th, and Cole Custer 15th. 16th for Joey Logano, Michael McDowell 17th, Tyler Reddick 18th, Ty Gibbs 19th, and AJ Allmendinger 20th. Bubba Wallace 21st, Christopher Bell 22nd, Riley Herbst 23rd, Zane Smith 24th, 25th for Carson Hocevar. Eric Jones 26, Corey LaJoie 27, Daniel Suarez 28, Chris Buscher 29th, and Shane Van Gisbergen in 30th. Jesse Love 31st, Ross Chastain 32nd, Ryan Preece 33rd, Todd Gilliland 34th, William Byron 35th, Josh Berry 36th, Cody Ware 37th, Josh Bilicki 38th, 39th for Ty Dillon rounds out our full field of cars for Food City 500 practice.
It's where most of the fastest qualifiers pick. Then there's the backside pit. And other than the end stalls, 2 pit roads, and under caution, you have to come in at turn 2 and come all the way around and exit. Under green, you can just come down your own pit road and exit on the same side. So under green flag, just your side of the track. But under caution, enter at turn 2, everybody, and exit at turn number 1. It's a big deficit to have to fit on the backside.
Yeah, you see these hot spots right here that we have highlighted, and basically that's because this corner right here, you could run faster, so that the speed of what you can run because of the arc of that corner allows you to to drive the car faster with the speeds in this section right here. So those hot spots become that way because you accelerate into the corner and you have to decel out of the corner. So if you're a little too fast getting into the corner, you get a speeding ticket. If you're a little too slow coming out of the corner in turn 4, you get another speeding ticket. So lots of places to make mistakes here from a up and down standpoint on your speed. Down to 4 minutes left here. We don't have very many cars left out on the racetrack to be able to have enough tires left to keep practicing. So as I look out the window and you look here, it's definitely no rubber on the racetrack. The only thing that's on the racetrack on the bottom, you see that 4 feet of PJ1 and where the right side tires have been. So it's this is an interesting night for the drivers and the crew chiefs. And you have to block that out right now as you see all the tire marbles up in the top of the racetrack. And as we see the tires, I believe that is from the tires, Clint.
Yeah, totally. I mean, look at the tires of that right there. They had to go somewhere. Look at the marbles on the other one. I mean, it's all just cheese grater, like you said, just peeling the grout off of those tires on the top of the racetrack. But again, it goes back to the simulation and all the speed where it's found and perfected in these race cars. It's all in simulation in today's day and age. The old school days, how we used to go to the track and work on this and work on the cameras that Larry talked about, trying to make these things last longer. That's out the window. With today's day and age and the simulation on things like this, and these tires are that drastically different, it throws everybody for a loop. It's back the old school way. Let's figure this out.
3 minutes to go and only a couple of cars left on the racetrack. Kyle Busch pulling in. Okay, one car left on the racetrack. Mr. Bell. And Bell's last lap, 16:50. That's right about in the middle. 16, we see a lot of 30s and 40s in the last few. Those Gibbs cars, well, they didn't run here last spring.
Yeah, always really good here at Bristol, and I think in the last spring they were really the cars to beat. Ultimately, Denny Hamlin prevailed just because of his. I don't know. I just think his knowledge and the way that he used to race. He's a late model stock racer. That is very typical of a late model stock race. You can see him up in the wall right there, but he was the guy that car in the wall with the car that won the race.
There's a car that his car actually, Bubba Wallace, if right foot was going down on that car. I mean, it was one after another. You could see him just starting to drop flies. They would take off. And then those kids would take off up there like gangbusters, and then they were in trouble and start falling back. And then the old KG veterans at the end of that thing put on a clinic. It was all up to all your old drivers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Now there's a stat for you. In the 7th generation Cup we raced today, Joe Gibbs Racing has led half the laps at Bristol.
Well, it just tells you how good that Joe Gibbs Racing has been here. I mean, you watch Christopher Bell and you look at Ty Gibbs there. I mean, all of those guys have led a bunch of laps here. So it's pretty amazing when you see a team that figures something out at a racetrack, and we've seen them do that running fast, and we saw them do that last year in the conservation game.
And what a year they've had so far. Winning 5 of the first 8. Denny Hamlin, 2 straight, plus some of the race here last spring, as we mentioned. Interestingly, no team has ever won 3 straight races with 2 different drivers within one season. Yet. There are the teams that have in the 62% mark, 5 out of 8. Joe Gibbs twice, Hendrick, and Richard Childress.
That was really good math, Mike. That was definitely outside of mine and Clint's range of quick percentages.
It's 1625.
Yeah.
That's why we had where Hillman
Just looked at us like, that's pretty easy.
Uh-oh.
Driver torture.
Later. Uh-oh.
That's one of
Get up in the marbles.
That's one of those scenarios where it's like, guys, I told you this thing was done. Why do you keep making me drive this car?
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Like Sam Flood used to say, turns left, turn left, we'll talk about cars. They turn right, we'll show replays and talk about them some more. All right, those of you watching on YouTube and Facebook, coverage will continue on Prime Video with qualifying getting underway shortly.
Yep, we'll go through the top 10 yet again for practice. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. fastest overall. Ryan Blaney second. Austin Cindric third. Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson fourth and fifth. With Larson in fourth, then Elliott fifth. Brad Keselowski sixth. Denny Hamlin seventh. Eighth for Kyle Busch. John Hunter Nemechek ninth. And Alex Bowman rounds out the top 10. We'll look at our lap average sheet. Best 5 lap average was Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who again was fastest overall. 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 lap average all goes to Kyle Larson. Now that might be the fastest while pushing hard, but seeing the tire fall off we have, I don't know that that's going to be indicative of what we will see tomorrow on the long run, considering that nobody was really saving tires throughout the course of the run here. And if they were, then maybe those are the drivers we have to look forward to for tomorrow. They'll have a better idea of exactly how slow they can go while still maintaining track position, maintaining tire wear. It can overall just make it longer into a run. That's what ended up happening last year in the spring. Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex Jr., Brad Keselowski were able to run further on their set of tires than anybody else. On top of not only being able to go further, they were then able to pit later while they were giving up track position on the short run. Then they were able to gain it back on the back half of the run or end of the stage, especially in stage 3, with that being the longer of the 3 stages. Stages 1 and 2 are only 125 laps each. And there were a lot of cautions in last spring's race because the tire wear was new. We didn't expect it. And I think because we expect to see this kind of fall off in the race tomorrow, I would probably lean towards there not being as many yellows, which could lead to even more lap traffic in the first 2 stages than what we saw last year, which was primarily just in stage 3. So single car qualifying is going to begin shortly. And again, 2 laps per driver. Our qualifying order is not on the screen yet, so while we wait on that to upload, we will take a look at the point standings coming into the Food City 500 this weekend through the first 8 NASCAR Cup Series races in 2025. William Byron is our points leader by 49 over Denny Hamlin, who's coming in off of back-to-back wins. He's jumped up to second in points with doing so. He's only 3 points ahead of his teammate Christopher Bell, who's also up a spot in points after another top 3 finish last week. In fact, runner-up for Christopher Bell in 4 races or better this year. Obviously the 3 wins, and then the second place at Martinsville was up in the top 5 last weekend, his 5th top 5 of the year. Chase Elliott is 4th in the point standings, Tyler Reddick 5th, all within 1 race worth of points of our points leader, William Byron, has 61 points is the most you could score in a single race if you win both stages and have the fastest lap of the race on top of course, winning the race. Kyle Larson is just over race worth of points back in 6th. He is down 4 spots after last week's lap 5 DNF. Didn't DNF until later in the race in the second incident, forcing that overtime restart, but still not a great points day, no stage points, and a 1 point for the finishing position of 37th. Ryan Blaney up 3 spots in points from 10th to 7th a week ago after a strong performance. Had the second most points of any driver last week, only behind William Byron, as he ended up putting himself now 79 out of first from Byron. Bubba Wallace is 8th in points where he's been for the last several weeks. Joey Logano 9th. And Alex Bowman rounds out the top 10. Bowman was 3rd in points just 2 races ago and has dropped to 10th over the course of that. 2 very, very bad weeks for Bowman, 2 weeks in a row with Darlington and Martinsville. Lack of stage points and not good finishes to go along with it, where everybody else in the top 10 in points, for the most part, outside of Kyle Larson in both races, was able to put together some really good performances.
That was loud. All right, good luck figuring all that out. I do like the look. Joey's still smiling over here, Larry, but
Regan Smith talking to Joey Logano, and Larry Mack is standing with Denny Hamlin.
It's your 11 car right front makes me nervous. It's almost like Groundhog Day from a year ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's everything looks the same. Truthfully, I wouldn't have expected it, but certainly it looks like the formula is striking again. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting race. See how it all plays out. But there's marbles up at the top. Obviously, the bottom is where you want to be, and tires are wearing out, so it should be fun.
And if it stays this way, how much is going to be on your shoulders? That's what you did an amazing job a year ago.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I've always thought that the car and the driver have a 50-50 shared responsibility in it. But yeah, I mean, I think everyone probably came here thinking we're going all out, but maybe that's not the case. I don't know, but certainly we're about to go out here in qualifying in just a few minutes, so we'll see after that.
Well, we know the thing we'll be watching tomorrow. Can Denny Hamlin do something he's never done in his career with 3 consecutive Cup races?
Thanks, Larry.
I'd say he's got a very good chance.
56 straight Daytona 500s for his local newspaper, and then for Auto Week. He passed away Wednesday. Wrote 13 books about racing, and he ran the McLemore Award for Career Excellence among automotive journalists, and was a winner of that award too, and a member of the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame. Wednesday, Al Pierce passed, age 82.
So again, single car qualifying, 2 laps per driver. With this being a half-mile short track, 1 round to see who will be sitting on the pole for this year's Food City 500 at Bristol Motor Speedway. Welcome to everybody just tuning in as Cup practice has concluded and we're about to get into Food City 500 qualifying. Be sure to hit the like button on the stream if you haven't done so yet, as we are chasing our goal of 50 likes. We are currently at 31. Subscribe for more daily NASCAR content as well coming into the stream today. We were only 66 subscribers away from 6,000 on the channel, so we'll see if we can get there this weekend. Our first of 2 streams on the day, NASCAR Xfinity Series race coverage will begin at 5 p.m. Eastern a little later on. And at 2:30 p.m. Eastern tomorrow, we'll go live with our pre-race coverage leading into our full flag-to-flag coverage of the Food City 500 at Bristol. Obviously, what we are about to qualify for here in a matter of moments. Our first drivers to qualify of the 39 will be Josh Bilicki, Corey LaJoie, Jesse Love. The 3 open entries after them will be Riley Herbst, Brad Keselowski, Josh Berry, Carson Hocevar, Cody Ware, Kyle Larson, and Alex Bowman will be the first 10 drivers out on the racetrack. We'll take a quick break while we wait on that. You're listening live on KRC, again, Food City 500 qualifying. Josh Bilicki will be making his 5th start at Bristol Motor Speedway in his NASCAR Cup Series career. Running double duty this weekend, of course, in the Xfinity Series full-time. Making his first start of the season in the NASCAR Cup Series side. But very familiar with this racetrack, and he actually ran the 66 car for MBM here last season. So he knows about what this tire wear is going to look like. Headed into practice and into the race as well tomorrow. Best finish for Bilicki of those first 4 Bristol starts in his Cup career was in 2021, where he finished 31st. And I mentioned already, Corey LaJoie will be after him. Best finish for LaJoie, 15th in 2022. With Spire Motorsports at Bristol, Jesse Love, Riley Herbst will be making their Bristol debuts. Jesse Love will be making his NASCAR Cup Series debut for Richard Childress Racing in the 33 car. We saw Austin Hill drive that car at Homestead 2 weeks ago. Riley Herbst is obviously a rookie this season in the Cup Series, but of his part-time drives last year and the year before that with the Next Gen, none of them were here at this half-mile banked oval, Bristol, Tennessee. 3-time Bristol winner Brad Keselowski will be after Herbst. Josh Berry, who sat on the front row for this race a season ago, also had a finish of 12th last fall. Carson Hocevar in this first group of drivers finished 11th in 2023 with Legacy Motor Club. That's his best finish at Bristol. And Cody Ware making his 5th Bristol start in the Cup Series as well. Best finish was 17th in 2022.
The long run. Look who else was looking good. The old 22 car right there. Logano's pretty sporty as well. keep an eye on those cars. The long run speed on a tire wear racetrack scenario is very, very important.
All right, driver, now forget all of that. Go run fast. You got one lap. You got two, but I would say that it's going to be one.
I can only hold my breath
The first one.
Josh Bilicki making his first trip in 2025. He has 4 races at Bristol. This is the Manscaped Award, raising awareness to Testicular Cancer Society.
I just think that a lot.
Me too.
Well, it makes sense.
Well, you see just how much trouble this racetrack can be. I mean, he ran 2 laps right there, but I think as you go through the field here, I think you're going to see that first lap. That was a trend that we saw in the first race last year when we covered qualifying. That first lap was so important because the tires fall off so fast.
He was 7/10 slower in his qualifying lap than his fastest practice lap. All right, Corey LaJoie making his 3rd start of the year. He raced at Daytona and Atlanta. Started top 10 in 2 of the last 3 Bristol races. This is the Schindler Systems Ford.
Extremely difficult scenario to be under for a race car driver. These cars, obviously they're all loose in the in race conditions. You go out here in the first, you have to be fully committed, Kevin. You go out in the qualifying trips, you commit, and if it slips up, you are done. You're going to start at the back of the pack, but you have to have that level of commitment to run the line. And somebody is going to slip up and cost them dearly, just like we saw last year. I remember I was talking to Chastain this week. He was a prime example of this.
Second lap is the fast one for LaJoie. Now, he practiced at 15:36. This qualifying lap 15:64. Jesse Love, the 2023 ARCA champ, and last year's Xfinity Rookie of the Year, is making his Cup debut today in the C4 Energy Chevrolet. Man,
First Cup started. Here is the kid. That is a tall order. It's going to learn somehow.
Yeah, trial by fire. And I think a lot of these kids, that's the way they learn nowadays, is just throw them in the fire and let them figure it out.
Car's bottoming out a little bit, I believe.
15:13, quickest so far.
That's a good lap.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's not bad at all.
I think it's a prime example of if that thing sticks, how we just grip and grip. You know, that traction compound has a ton of grip in it on the bottom of the racetrack. Let's see what the second lap is.
A little off, but a little off. He qualified 3/10 faster than he practiced.
And I told us that first lap is probably it.
I think the cars that go really good, and I think you need to be disciplined to that. As much as this is going to be a tire conservation race as of today, I would want to put 2 laps on my tires. I'd only want 1 lap on my tires, especially knowing you should be the fastest on the first lap.
Well, you got a great point. You got to be ready for it.
We're going to need those tires on
Need 'em.
Sunday.
You need them. If it's gonna be a thinking man's game, you better start thinking about it right now.
Riley Hurst, making his first Bristol Cup start. He has 4 top 10s in 6 Xfinity races here. This is Lucy Toyota for Team 2311. 15:24. Well, that's faster than he practiced.
He was way up out of the group getting off too. You heard him in action track out of the gas a little bit.
Well, it's like we talked about at the beginning of practice. You just don't want to overdrive the corner. You want to be able to get the car set in on that line in that traction compound to be able to not get sideways or push the front tires and get out of it. Be able to lock it in there and then get the speed off the corner.
This guy's got to be nervous. The last time he was in his hot rod, that thing was 45 degrees and rain away. It was loose all over the place. Hopefully this thing sticks for bad. Come on, baby.
3 wins and 10 top 10s, 27 Bristol starts for Brad in the Kroger Oscar Mayer Rustic Oven Ford.
Still really loose getting into the corner, but he held on to it, kept the speed up.
He practiced at 15:16.
And he's turning off the light much more than he is left, Kevin.
Hey, 15:09.
Very loose.
Yeah, I just, I think that this second lap is just, you can see the grip up the racetrack right there.
He's holding on. That thing's wicked.
Drop out.
We dropped off 2/10 on the second lap. Yeah. Josh Berry started a Cup best second in this race last year. 4 top 10 starts already this season. The Las Vegas winner in the Motorcraft pit lane for the Woodrunners.
Yeah, he ran really well in this race last year and wound up with a tire problem at the wrong time. But
Short tracker. That surprised me a bit.
when we watch those cars too, like all stock events, and their classics, races are saving tires, and he is very good at that. He's won a bunch of these races having to be in tire conflict.
Oh,
Stayed off the floor, still in the green though. Top he goes, Mike.
Didn't have a lot of speed in practice. 15:53 in practice, but Berry 15:05, half a second better.
He went for more, getting into 3. I think he got loose and aborted.
If you guys are listening down there, I can save you guys a lot of time. Go ahead and not run your second lap.
Make sure you get it the first round.
One and done. Carson Osavar, 3 Bristol starts. Best start of 7th here last fall. This
Nice
is
to get
Chili's Ride the Dente Chevrolet. That's Chili's Presidente Margarita.
Boy, let's go get us one of them this afternoon.
But that's the key problem. You said afternoon. That's an early start, Clint. That make for a long night or a short one.
Look at unswamped bees in that.
He does get bigger here.
Yeah.
Look at him leaning in the banking to that corner. Looks good, they say. It's good.
15:01. Osavar.
Really good 3 or 4.
He picked up 3/10 from practice.
he looks smooth. Not as much. Third, yep, not that time. I spoke too soon. He was smooth.
Really loose again, getting with 3. I think that's the key corner. And it's important too. If it comes out from underneath of you and you get loose in 3 and 4 on that first lap, it's going to ruin the second lap too.
It's unbelievable how everything is playing out exactly like it did last year. When I go back and read my notes through my notebook, when I look at qualifying, it is word for word of what is happening right now.
Cody Ware next up for Rick Ware Racing. Has one Bristol start, came in 2022. This is the Arby's. Well, I still hear James Earl Jones every time I say Arby's. Big roast beef. Oh, no, I can put
You guys go get that. I'm going to go back and get a dente.
15:66 on his first lap. That's within 1/10 of where he practiced.
Car looks pretty stuck though. Looks pretty comfortable for him.
Second lap quicker.
All right. Up next is going to be Kyle Larson, 2-time Bristol winner. 2021 for the Bristol night race in the summer. And he also has one next-gen win here, which came in 2022. In the fall that very next season. Or, sorry, not 2022. My mistake on that. Would have been a 2024 night race win last year for Kyle Larson. No tire fall off like we saw here today through practice. In the spring race for Larson, didn't go quite his way. Finished second in the Truck Series race last night. He'll be pulling triple duty this weekend. Xfinity race will be later on. 14.930 on lap 1, our first sub 15-second lap time in qualifying. The only driver to do that in practice was our fastest in that session of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. And with the fall off on lap 2, again, lap 1 much quicker for Larson as it has been for everybody else through the field so far. Second lap was still quick. It was a sub 15-second lap, but 500ths off. Larson had probably the closest lap time from lap 1 to lap 2 that we've seen so far, but no pickup. Larson had the fastest 5-lap or post 5-lap averages in practice, 10 through 30. Not only in his group, but overall. Alex Bowman is next on the racetrack, his teammate at Hendrick Motorsports. And as for Alex Bowman, his career best finish at Bristol 4th, which was last season in the spring. He actually finished top 10 in both Bristol races a season ago. Alex Bowman goes to the top of the speed charts with his one qualifying lap. Bailed out of lap 2 in turns 3 and 4 and didn't need it. 14.911 for Alex Bowman. Just under 200ths of a second quicker than his teammate Larson. So Bowman, Larson, who are the two fastest in practice from Group A, are the top 2 in qualifying through our first 10 drivers. Still 29 more have to make a lap. Or 2. Next drivers to qualify will be John Hunter Nemechek, Cole Custer, Michael McDowell, Justin Haley, then Austin Dillon, Chase Briscoe, Shane Van Gisbergen, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Noah Gregson. Those will be the next 10 drivers to make a qualifying lap. Ryan Preece after Gregson as well. And as for John Hunter Nemechek, his best finish 6th, which was also last season, though that was in the fall race and not the spring event. Nemechek had a sneaky good second half of last year. Got into the playoffs, he had a few top 10s. Was consistently finishing top 15. He's been sneaky quick this year as well. A couple top 10s to start the year on the Super Speedway drafting ovals of Atlanta and Daytona. Cooled off a bit, but still top 20 in points. We'll take a quick break while we await this commercial break, which is currently airing on Prime Video, as is qualifying. You can listen live here on KRC as our coverage continues. So 14.911 is the lap time to beat right now in pole qualifying. And Alex Bowman currently has that fastest time. And only the top 2 have a sub 15-second lap time. I'm sure we'll see others jump up there as well. And both were quicker than the Stenhouse lap from practice. All right, John Hunter Nemechek is just getting onto the racetrack. And as that's happening, William Byron getting an interview as well in the pit lane with Regan Smith.
Went first and second. How much can you lean on what they just did?
Yeah, for us, in practice, we just merged out into a bunch of traffic, so that wasn't ideal, but I thought our long run speed was good. But yeah, you're just seeing a lot like it was here in the spring last year, you know, it's higher wear. So as far as qualifying goes, I think it's pretty normal stuff. Just trying to hook the bottom and make a good lap. So I think the pole's going to be pretty quick. It's already in the 14s right now, so I'm sure probably an 80, somewhere around there is going to be the pole. So hopefully we have enough.
Pretty normal stuff. You make it sound so simple. I promise you it's not normal. You guys are doing some crazy stuff out there, Mike.
John Hunter Nemechek.
Traction compound on the bottom of the racetrack this spring is a little different from what we had here in the spring last year. And as a result of which, I believe that's why the lap times in qualifying are also quicker this year over last. Fastest lap for Nemechek of his 2 in qualifying was his first 15.303. He is 8th out of 11. Cole Custer is now on the racetrack for Haas. He's got 2 top 10s at Bristol in his Cup career. His best was 2022, where he finished 8th in the night race that season. Wrapping up his first qualifying lap, and it looks like 8th place for Cole Custer, 9th. Had it right. 15.321. Bails out of his second lap once he rolls out of turn 2. And heads for the pit lane on the front stretch. And next to follow up Custer's lap will be Michael McDowell. McDowell also with a top 10 finish in a next-gen car at Bristol 2023. He finished 6th. He's got 2 career top 10s at Bristol Motor Speedway. But that one was his best. Obviously with Front Row Motorsports, now his first season with Spire Motorsports in the 71. He's been top 16 in points all season so far and looking to keep that up again here this weekend at the world's fastest half mile. A little over a 10th off of Bowman's lap, couple tenths off now as he exits turn 4. Not bad for Michael McDowell, 15.095. That'll be 5th out of 13. He's running a second lap. And he might actually pick up on lap 2, and that could be the first driver to make a pickup. 15.074. So lap 2 is quicker for Michael McDowell. First driver to run a second lap as their fastest lap, though he doesn't pick up any positions. He's still slated 5th. That could ultimately be a position by the time we get all the way through the qualifying order, as he had nearly a 200th of a second pickup. His teammate Justin Haley will be next on the racetrack, and he also has a... Oh, no, he does not have a top 10. Looking back at my stat sheet, his best finish is 12th in 2022, also in the night race that year. And that would have came with Rick Ware Racing in the 51. Rather, the 31 of Collie Racing, excuse me. Slipping up on my notes. It's right here in front of me, and I misread it. I don't know. There's no excuse for that one. 4th for Justin Haley, quicker than McDowell, who just went, but not quite as quick as his teammate Carson Hocevar, still in front of him in 3rd. Haley's second lap was slower than his first, so the 15.029 will hold for Justin. Austin Dillon have to go back to 2016 for his best Bristol finish. He was 4th that season. Next Gen has not been too kind to RCR as a whole on these short tracks outside of Richmond. Phoenix, we already ran this season. Martinsville a couple weeks ago, and now here at Bristol Motor Speedway. So definitely looking for upward trajectory for those teams, the 3 and the 8 specifically, coming into the weekend. The amount of tire wear we're seeing again maybe could be better had for a driver like Kyle Busch. As for Austin Dillon on his qualifying lap, he's top 10 for right now, 8th, 15.098. Looking for a pickup on lap 2. Slipped up the track a little bit exiting turn 4. He was good up until that point to have a pickup. Ultimately ended up not picking up with the time lost on that end of the racetrack. Bass Pro Shops Toyota of Chase Briscoe will be next. Briscoe for Joe Gibbs Racing in his first season with this team. Finally started to click away some pretty good finishes the last couple of weeks. A little bit of a growing pain through the first handful of starts this year. Last season, he finished 8th at Bristol in the night race with SHR, and that was his best finish at Bristol Motor Speedway, not counting the dirt race where he finished 2nd a couple years ago. Not a great opening lap for Chase Briscoe. Probably going to try to run a second to see if he can pick up. 7th, 15.088. The Toyotas qualified very well at Bristol last season collectively. So Briscoe wants a pickup, but I don't think he's going to get it on lap 2 either. I don't think that lap time is going to hold for a top 10 by the end of it. Consider the drivers he's around right now, Austin Dillon, Brad Keselowski, they haven't qualified too well for most of the races this season, so not somewhere you'd want to be around early in qualifying with still well over half the field yet to go out and make a lap. Shane Van Gisbergen will be making his first Cup start at Bristol Motor Speedway this weekend. Handful of starts last year, some on ovals, but none here at Bristol. He'll be one of 3 drivers making his first career start at this racetrack in the Cup Series, and alongside with the other rookie he's running for Rookie of the Year honors with, Riley Herbst, and Jesse Love will be making his Cup Series debut in general tomorrow, not just at Bristol. SVG on lap 1 runs a 15.873, 16th. Definitely room for improvement on lap 2. And he does pick up on lap 2, one more position up to 15th with a 15.69, a 15.569 for SVG. We'll be halfway through qualifying after these next 2 go out. Currently on the racetrack is the driver who is fastest in practice, that being Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Stenhouse has finished runner-up twice in his Cup Series career at Bristol. One in the 17 with the then Roush Fenway Racing, and once here with JTG Doherty Racing as well. A couple of seasons ago. Second for Stenhouse on his first qualifying lap with a 14.925. Backs it down and will not try to go for the pole on lap 2. Only driver we've seen pick up on lap 2 so far was Michael McDowell and Shane Van Gisbergen. They only picked up a couple hundredths of a second. SVG, 1 spot gain for him. Michael McDowell didn't gain a single spot. Though had he kept his first lap, him and Briscoe would have been flip-flopped in the running order. Obviously, McDowell was before Briscoe, so we didn't see them actually gain a position at the time. Could end up being a couple more positions gained again, as we still have our second half of qualifying yet to go. Noah Gregson from Front Row Motorsports is now out on the racetrack. Finished 12th last season at Bristol Motor Speedway. Big slip up in turns 1 and 2 on his qualifying lap, his first one. 15.3 flat for Gregson, 13th. With the mistake in 1 and 2, he could actually pick up here if he has a clean second lap, because he had the entire lap to try to make a better lap time. You make a mistake up off of turn 4 and it kills your second lap and your first lap. But either way, Gregson did not pick up on lap 2, so it didn't matter. And now Ryan Preece, who was also a Bristol best 7th last season. It's his only career top 10 at Bristol Motor Speedway with SHR. Currently top 16 in points for Ryan Preece early in the year. Picked up a stage win on a short track at Phoenix earlier in the season. Led some laps at one point at Martinsville, so we'll see what he can do on another short track here at Bristol. Not great for qualifying, 15.338 for Ryan Preece. And he was pretty slow overall lap time-wise in practice. Most of the RFK Fords were. It seems like all 3 of them are really, really struggling with a loose race car. Preece picks up on lap 2, 3 positions gained, 15.289. That was a pretty significant pickup. Biggest pickup from lap 1 to lap 2 we've had of the few drivers that have had a pickup from one lap to the next in qualifying. Next 10 drivers to qualify will be Eric Jones, Ty Dillon, Daniel Suarez, AJ Allmendinger, Bubba Wallace, Todd Gilliland, Zane Smith, Ty Gibbs, Kyle Busch, and Joey Logano. A couple of former Bristol winners in this next group of cars to qualify. We're halfway through our session for the Food City 500 at Bristol. Listening live on KRC. Our coverage continues onward. 8 drivers in the field today have had a pole at Bristol Motor Speedway at some point in their Cup career. Those drivers would include Ryan Blaney, Christopher Bell, who each have 1. Blaney last spring. The year before that, Christopher Bell. Denny Hamlin, a 4-time pole sitter, most of any active driver. His last one was in 2019 for the summer race, so he has yet to qualify in the pole at the next-gen car. Chase Elliott has a pole also in 2019 in the spring event that year. Larson with 1 pole 2018. 2-time pole sitter for Kyle Busch. Eric Jones in his rookie season had a pole in 2017. And Joey Logano in his Joe Gibbs Racing days back in 2010 had also qualified on the pole here at Bristol. So again, 8 drivers so far. Alex Bowman, not one of those 8, still has the top time with a 14.911. 128.675 mile per hour average on that lap for Bowman. Did not run a second lap either. Bailed out after his first. It shows that a lot of drivers did run their second lap, but I think it's based off of if they crossed the start-finish line or not, which most of them did on pit road. So it's going to show 2 laps for a lot of these drivers, but more often than not, it was just the 1. Or they bailed out coming to the start-finish line sometime in 3 and 4, finished their second lap at a very slow pace. So once again, Eric Jones will be the next driver out on the racetrack. I mentioned already he had a pole in 2017. And he also finished runner-up in that same race. Rookie season was ran in the 77 car for Furniture Row Motorsports. I made that mistake a couple of times throughout the season calling Furniture Row and Front Row when talking about Erik Jones, and I did it again. Very, very similar names between the two. I guess they're technically both FRM. As for Legacy Motor Club, 17th for Erik Jones. Nemechek only a couple spots better than that. 15.43 on lap 1 for Jones. He picks up on lap 2, though, 15.274, and jumps to 13th after his second lap. 5 positions gained on lap 2 for Erik. Ty Dillon for Colleague Racing is up next. Ty Dillon has a finish of 15th 2 times as his best Bristol run. And he, too, has also had some good runs on the short track so far this season of Phoenix and Martinsville, all things considered. He's actually pretty close to a top 10 in the Phoenix race. Granted, the option tire was a thing in that one, not the case this weekend. But there definitely will be tire wear, so you just never know who can maybe pop up and surprise with another top 10 run. Very quick opening lap for Ty Dillon. 7th, 15.074. And he qualified pretty well at Phoenix earlier this season also. Now, qualifying at Phoenix took place on the primary tire. Obviously, same tire compound we have here today at Bristol. 22 drivers have made a qualifying lap out of 39. 17 still remain. And up next is Daniel Suarez for Trackhouse. He'll be the second of the 3 Trackhouse cars to hit the track. Got to go back to 2019 for Daniel Suarez's best career finish at Bristol Motor Speedway, where he finished 8th in both races that year. That would have came with Stuart Haas Racing in the 41. Not looking like a great lap for the 99 so far. Both the Trackhouse cars were struggling for grip in practice more than a lot of the other teams. Kind of similar to RFK, but it didn't quite have as much speed on the charts in practice compared to qualifying. Suarez on lap 1 was a 15.204. He's going to wrap up lap number 2 and drop off. So still 13th for Daniel Suarez out of 23. Ross Chastain just climbing into his car. He'll be a little later on. For now, it's AJ Allmendinger's turn to make a lap. AJ's career best at Bristol in 2022 with a 7th place run with the next-gen car at Colleague Racing. Wrapping up his warm-up lap as he comes to the line. His teammate Ty Dillon is still in 7th. Great lap going for AJ through 1 and 2. Can he commit through 3 and 4 and have a shot at the pole? He's going to drop off a little bit through 3 and 4, but still a great lap. AJ Allmendinger, top 5, 4th, 15.001. On lap 1, he runs a second lap at the start, bails out of it on the back straightaway. Great lap for AJ Allmendinger. And how about that? Both Colleague cars up in the top 10 right now. The low grip racetracks this season have been good for AJ, although those were intermediate racetracks so far. Now we go to a low grip short track at Bristol with the way we've seen tire wear for the Cup race at least. Which is very strange because you look at the truck race last night and those tires didn't fall off one bit. Might be the case for the Xfinity Series race again later, but not going to be for the Cup Series this weekend. More than likely. A little bit warmer for the race tomorrow, but still similar in temperature to last season. Practice today a little bit colder than what it was the entirety of last year. And a great lap for Bubba Wallace, who was on the racetrack. He had his career best finish last fall, where he ended up 3rd at Bristol. Looking for a pickup on lap 2. And it does look like he picks up a couple positions. 1. So 15th on lap 1, 14th on lap 2 with a fast lap of 15.192 for Bubba. And the last 2 Front Row Motorsport Fords will be the next 2. First, Todd Gilliland, 16th at Bristol, Gilliland in 23, and Zane Smith in 2024. Gilliland towards the bottom of the speed charts on his opening lap right now, 22nd currently. Back half of the field, he's picking up as the run goes on, but he's still going to be outside the top 20. 21st on lap 1. Lap 2, he starts off better. So we'll see if it's going to be a better lap. He's got to put together a pretty solid 3 and 4. So far, he does. 1 position gain for Todd Gilliland, 2 actually, to 19th with a 15.296. Gilliland has struggled in qualifying throughout his Cup career. No difference so far this weekend. Aaron's Dream Machine is back on the Zane Smith Ford this weekend. We saw that a couple of weeks ago. Aaron's back on the car again, and they'll be on the car a few more times before the season's up. Got the lucky dog on the hood. You got the lucky dog on both sides of the car, the back of the car. Wonder how many times we're going to see Zane Smith get the lucky dog tomorrow. Free pass position. Hopefully none for himself. He would hope that he would stay on the lead lap the whole way, but we're going to see a lot of lap cars tomorrow like we did a season ago. Remember, last year only 6 cars finished on the lead lap. Largely due to how long that final stage went green to the finish. On top of the fact that we had as much tire fall off as we did, and we're probably going to see the same tomorrow. 15.13 on lap 1 for Zane Smith. He bails on lap 2. So definitely better than his teammate Todd Gilliland by 7 positions. And also better than his other teammate Noah Gregson. Ty Gibbs in the 54, who had a good qualifying effort last year at Bristol. He actually won Stage 1 and Stage 2 at Bristol last season as well. He's got 2 top 10s in his career, with his best finish being a top 5 and 5th in 2023's night race. This is definitely a driver who knows how to commit on a qualifying lap. Couple of poles already in his young career. Still looking for his first career win. Gibbs 4th on lap 1. Falls off quite a bit through 1 and 2. Unless he has a massive pickup through 3 and 4, this second lap's going to be slower. And it is. First lap was very good, though. 14.963. One of only 4 drivers to run a sub-15-second lap time. And Alex Bowman, who was the 10th driver to qualify, still holds the fastest lap. And as Kyle Busch hits the racetrack, he's going to be, I believe, number 29 to go out. We're only going to have 10 drivers after Busch for qualifying. Mentioned it already, that Kyle Busch has qualified on the pole twice in his Cup career here at Bristol. And he is an 8-time winner here, 9 if you count the dirt race. Most of any active driver by far. Next closest to him is Denny Hamlin, who's got 3. Opening lap for Kyle Busch, not great. 15.097, and he spins it in 3 and 4 on his second lap, but he keeps it off of the wall, thankfully. And that'll put a brief pause into qualifying. Good save as he was able to lock it down. He kept it off the outside wall, rolled to the bottom of the track, and barely kept it off the inside wall.
Does it take a lot? Stay on the front of the face.
Wonder if the recent dirt track racing he's been doing has helped him out on that slide.
12th fastest on lap 1.
Well, these cars, and we've seen it last year, and we've seen it this year, as you make that second lap going into turn 3, how many cars have we seen get loose? And he tried to just ride that looseness to be able to finish the lap. But I mean, at this point, you know that the second lap is not going to be as good.
Joey Logano won the pole here in 2010.
Yep. It's the only pole for Joey Logano in his Cup career here. Oh, and he gets sideways off turn 2. 2 drivers in a row, and he did get a piece of the wall, it looks like, with the right rear. That's what straightened him out. There's some damage on Logano's car. He's going to run a second lap, but there's quite a bit of damage on that 22 car. So back-to-back drivers getting up in the marbles and sliding a bit sideways. Busch was able to save his. Logano did not. Had he not caught the wall with the right rear, I think he was going to hit a lot harder than he did, but you can definitely tell the corner panel was bumped out quite a bit from where the right rear tire was. It almost looked like Logano got a little too low on the bottom of the racetrack. He had the left side tires down just below that yellow line and maybe a little too aggressive for both Kyle Busch and Joey Logano, series veterans, struggling in qualifying at Bristol. Although Busch was able to post a lap time of 12th quickest, Joey Logano's second lap with the damage on the right rear was only better than Josh Bilicki's lap, so 29th out of 30 for Logano. Timed in at a 16.275. 9 drivers still to qualify to try to take down Alex Bowman's fast lap of a 14.911. Those drivers will be Austin Cindric, Ross Chastain, Chris Buscher, Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney, Tyler Reddick, Christopher Bell, William Byron, and last driver to go out will be Denny Hamlin of the 9 remaining. We'll take our final break of the stream. You're listening live on KRC to Food City 500 qualifying at Bristol. Irina Sayre, Braden, Najee's Amazing Cars and NASCAR Diecast 73, Jeffrey Giordano, thanks for tuning in. Michael Turner, welcome to the stream. Earl Arnold Jr. and others who I might not have shouted out yet. Greatly appreciate you tuning in. Only 20 votes in the chat poll for who you think is going to qualify on the poll for today's Food City 500. And none of those 3 names are on the top of the leaderboard. Only one of the 3 have actually made a lap, and that was Kyle Larson, who has 35% of the votes. He is still currently in 3rd and has been for a while now. As for Ryan Blaney, Christopher Bell, they still have to go out. Other at 35%. Alex Bowman falling under that category, trying to hold on and get the pole. Last 2 drivers going for a spin, Logano and Busch. But Logano picking up damage on the right rear.
That's too much.
Right there. And off she goes.
You saw it up that left front. I noticed it off of 4, and I was like, man, that's going to probably cost him a little bit of time. And it really cost him off 2. Trying to get it all. Got a little too much.
Logano, by the way, a 2-time winner at Bristol Motor Speedway, didn't get into it because he spun on his opening qualifying lap. None with the next-gen car here. Austin Cindric, his teammate, is now up on the racetrack. Cindric's best finish at Bristol, 13th last season. Big slip-up in turns 3 and 4 on his qualifying lap, and that's not going to be very good either. 17th on lap 1. He's going to run a second lap looking for a pickup, but because that mistake was in 3 and 4, it's going to be very tough for Cindric to actually have a faster second lap. And it does look like he's going to fall off a few positions from lap 1. Cindric was 3rd fastest overall in practice, so definitely not a lap time indicative of what he could have put down, but the big mistake in 3 and 4 costed him. Again, 17th for Austin Cindric. Ross Chastain in the Busch Light Chevrolet is up next. Best finish at Bristol 2022 for Chastain in the first year at the next gen. Obviously in the night race that year, still running on dirt for the spring event in the 22 season. 6th place is where Chastain finished that day. A little loose off turn 2 for Ross. His lap time is going to be a half a second off the pole time, so he's definitely going to run a second lap because he can do better than that. 29th on lap 1. I don't know how much better he's going to do, but he should be able to do at least a little bit better. Doesn't make a major mistake. He only picks up a couple spots, though. 27th for Ross Chastain. Second lap was his quickest. 15.448 for Ross. And up next in qualifying is going to be Chris Buscher, who is the 2022 Bristol Night Race winner. His only career win at Bristol. 1 of 5 in his NASCAR Cup Series career. Much different race for tomorrow, though, than what he had that race that season. Track position probably not going to matter quite as much as the tire management side of things will be. Buscher, very ill handling in practice with a loose race car. Looks very loose on his qualifying laps as well. First lap was 20th with a 15.246. Lap 2 is going to be right around that. A little bit slower for Buscher on lap 2. Had an even bigger wiggle off of turn 4 on the second lap. So first lap will be the quickest for him. And now it's Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott has not won a points race at Bristol, but he did win the All-Star race here back in 2020. As far as his points paint finishes, his best finish here is second 2 times. And obviously being at Hendrick Motorsports with a Hendrick car currently on the pole, we'll see if Elliott's got anything to start on the front row. The only 2 teammates of his qualified first and third so far. Elliott not very good, though, on lap 1 right out of the gate, so he's going to need a big pickup on lap 2, which I don't think it's going to be quick enough for the pole. I'd be shocked if it is. Lap 1 was 17th. 15.137. Started off pretty good through 1 and 2, and then when he got up off the exit of the corner, he lost time compared to his first lap. Gains time on entry into 3 and 4 again, but lap 2 overall slower than lap 1 for Chase. So Chase Elliott 17. Shout out to Jesse Love, by the way, 16th, being only the 3rd car out on the racetrack, and obviously making his Cup debut this week. That's a really good qualifying effort for him. Better than a lot of Cup veterans that are pretty high up in the point standings. Chase Elliott, Bubba Wallace, Chastain, Suarez all behind him. Chris Buscher. Ryan Blaney, last year's spring Bristol pole sitter. Trying to back that up with another pole here at the world's fastest half mile. It's his only career pole at Bristol Motor Speedway. Though his first lap is not going to be anywhere close to that. It's going to be good, but not good enough for the pole. 7th for Blaney on lap 1 with a 15.022. Little over a 10th off of Bowman's lap. So far, lap 2 looks a little bit better than lap 1. He does pick up, but he's not going to get the pole. 4th for Ryan Blaney. Big pickup on lap 2, 14.954. And now we have 5 drivers that have ran a sub 15-second lap time in qualifying. And we'll see if Tyler Reddick can be the 6th. Blaney's career best finish, by the way, at Bristol is 4th 2 times. Also a career best for Tyler Reddick would be 4th in his rookie year in 2020 with Richard Childress Racing. Here today with 2311 in this Toyota. We'll see if he can sit this car on the pole. His teammate Bubba Wallace is back in 20th right now. Big loose moment off of turn 2 for Reddick. Trying to regather momentum through 3 and 4. Not a great opening lap for Tyler, 25th. Lap 2 started off a little bit better. Definitely didn't get loose off of turn 2 again. And bails out. Wow. So not great at all for Tyler Reddick on his qualifying laps. Bailed out on lap 2. And his lap 1 time was a 15.268. 24th for Tyler Reddick. So he will definitely be starting deep in the field tomorrow. 3 drivers still to qualify to try to take down Alex Bowman for the fast time. Christopher Bell is on track right now. 2023, he finished a Bristol best 3rd. Several top 10s for him at Bristol with the next-gen car. Finished 2nd at Martinsville on the other half-mile short track just a couple weeks ago. What can he do here this weekend? He has yet to win at this racetrack in the Cup Series level, albeit a good track for him. Great qualifying lap. He's going to be starting towards the front of the field. 6th for Bell on lap 1, 14.986. Really loose up off of turn 2, but holds a steady enough wheel. He's tracking in the green. 3 and 4, he lost it. And I almost wonder if that bobble off turn 2, despite carrying a lot of speed down the back straightaway, ruined his momentum by the turn 3 entry. because it was looking like he had a chance on lap 2 to get the pole and just couldn't get the car to stick to the bottom of the track. William Byron, the Daytona 500 winner from this season, has yet to qualify on the pole at Bristol in his Cup career, though he does have quite a few poles already, including a week ago at Darlington. So looking for back-to-back poles. Hot start to lap 1 for Byron, tracking in the top 10. Through 3 and 4, he's not going to be near Bowman, and a big mistake now by Byron, and this is going to kill lap 2 and lap 1. He did not get off turn 4 well at all. And Byron's going to be starting outside of the top 20, it looks like, for tomorrow's race. A lot different starting position than he had last week, where again he was on the pole at Darlington. 25th for William Byron, 15.263. Don't see him make that kind of a mistake in qualifying often. It just goes to show how treacherous the track conditions are right now with these cars. No grip whatsoever. And the modern day short track king, Denny Hamlin. He got his 5th career win at Darlington last week, and he also got his 6th career win at Martinsville a couple weeks ago. So maybe he gets number 5 at Bristol. Another good track for him in his Cup career. He's going to have a good starting spot. 4th on lap 1. 14.937. We'll see if he runs a second lap, and he does not. He bails. Alex Bowman on the pole for tomorrow's NASCAR Cup Series race. You'll get to hear from him as he's standing with Regan Smith.
3 Chevrolets will lead a Toyota to the green flag, and then Blaney's Ford. The top 8 are all separated by less than a 1/10 of a second, Regan.
Well, Mike and Alex Bowman, you went early. You had to dodge a lot of guys with some quick laps there, but for the second time in 2 races, you're going to lead the field to green here at Bristol.
Yeah, it's feels really good. Honestly, I'm just excited about a tire management race, but definitely want to dedicate this to John Edwards. Huge loss for everybody at HMS and for his family and everybody that was close to him. He was probably my favorite person at HMS. One of the good guys for sure, and definitely going to be missed a lot. So just proud of our Ally 48 team, and yeah, excited for a tire management race. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's see what we got.
Speaking of that tire management race, Alex, we saw what was going on in practice today, and still a lot of unknowns overnight. So what do you have to discuss with your crew chief, Blake Harris, to figure out how to set the car up tomorrow and what you're going to need?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tricky for sure. I think, knowing where you want your bias to go and how you're going to manage that from the front, it's probably pretty difficult to manage because you don't have anybody in front of you. It's easy to run too hard sometimes, but yeah, we'll wait and see. I think it can be really good for us.
All right, good luck tomorrow. Congratulations. Mike?
7th career pole for Bowman, and 2nd of the season. In fact, he and William Byron are the only drivers with more than 1 pole.
Yep, and 2nd in 3 weeks for Alex Bowman, as mentioned by Regan Smith on the broadcast. Also had a pole at Martinsville. And as far as Alex Bowman on the front row, it's his 1st career pole at Bristol Motor Speedway. Now the 9th active driver to have a pole here in Bristol, Tennessee. We'll go through the full field starting lineup right here on screen. Alex Bowman, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. will make up row number 1 for the start of tomorrow's race, both going out pretty early in qualifying. Larson, who also went out early, will start inside of row 2, looking for his 3rd win at Bristol. Hamlin looking for his 5th, also in that row. Behind them in row 3 will be Ryan Blaney and Ty Gibbs. Row 4 for Christopher Bell, AJ Allmendinger. Row 5, Carson Hocevar, Justin Haley. Good qualifying efforts for those 2 Spire Chevys. Josh Berry, Ty Dillon in row number 6. Row 7 for Michael McDowell, Chase Briscoe. Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski, row 8. Row 9, Austin Dillon, Zane Smith. And then Jesse Love, top half of the field in 19th. Chase Elliott, 20th in row 10. Row 11, Austin Cindric, Bubba Wallace, Daniel Suarez, Chris Buscher in row 12. Row 13 for Riley Herbst, William Byron. Row 14, Tyler Reddick, Eric Jones. Row 15, Ryan Preece, Todd Gilliland, Noah Gregson, John Hunter Nemechek, row 16. Cole Custer, Cody Ware, row 17. Row 18 for Ross Chastain, Shane Van Gisbergen. Row 19, Corey LaJoy, Joey Logano, who has damage on the right rear following his qualifying lap. And Josh Balicki in 39th. We'll round out our 39-car field for the Food City 500.
Where we've struggled this year, last couple of years, trying to get, good starting track position. So kudos to all the guys at the shop. They've been working really hard, and I look forward to hopefully, staying in that top 5. This is my favorite racetrack we come to, and you never know, maybe get up there in victory lane.
And of course, guys, what comes with qualifying up front is picking pits. He said, you ought to see my crew chief running. He's not used to picking pits this early.
Well, good for him. Well, you're going to start.
Yeah, Stenhouse on the front row. He was fastest in practice overall earlier today, so backing that time up with a quick lap in qualifying as well. Good for Ricky. Interested to see what he can do tomorrow. He does have a couple of runner-ups in his career at Bristol Motor Speedway, so maybe tomorrow he has another top 2, maybe one step above, and can get the win. As for Alex Bowman, the pole lap again was a 14.911, average speed of 128.65 miles per hour on his first of 2 qualifying laps. So we'll not see qualifying at the NASCAR Cup Series ranks until Talladega in a couple weeks, with the Cup Series off next weekend. And that'll be a morning session at 10:30 a.m. on that Saturday morning for what will be the Spring Dega race for the Cup Series. We'll be live tomorrow for our Cup Series race at 2:30 p.m. Eastern on the channel, and obviously later today for the Xfinity race in about an hour from now at 5 p.m. Eastern as well. So still 2 more live commentary streams to go this weekend and 1 more yet today. Appreciate everybody that tuned in for today's first of 2 live streams. Be sure to hit the like button if you haven't done so yet. Subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. As I'll see you guys in a little bit. Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit the like button if you haven't done so yet. We're actually 2 likes away from our goal of 50. And as far as the subscriber side of things go, I believe we are less than 60 away from 6,000 on the channel. So be sure to hit the like button if you haven't done so. Also, again, with the subscribe, helps the channel out a ton. See you guys in a little bit for the NASCAR Xfinity Series race. I didn't get the diecast showing up, so I apologize for that. That means we're going to be doing 2 of them during the Cup race in a little bit from now. And also, on the poll, Other at 41% did win it over Kyle Larson, Ryan Blaney, and Christopher Bell. Only 29 votes were cast. I didn't get that poll up until after practice, but appreciate everybody that did vote. And again, liked and subscribed to the channel as well. See you guys in a little bit. Again, 1 hour from now, NASCAR Xfinity Series race coverage will begin on KRC.